What if a warning light in the fog refused to obey the dark? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight, I have something truly haunting for you. From a lighthouse that will not go dark to a door that should never be opened to a voice that lives inside radio static, every story tonight is a quiet storm waiting to break. Tell me afterward, which one crept under your skin the most? Story 1. The night the beacon wouldn't go dark, I took the relief shift at Greyhook Light because I needed the money and because I like being alone. Out there the wind does the talking. The sea sets the rhythm. The tower is a spine of iron and glass that hums like a throat. People think lighthouses are romantic. They forget that they are built in the favorite places of storms. I arrived at dusk by the service boat. The keeper I was covering for stood on the landing with his bag and a tight smile. His name was Hart. His eyes were red like he had not slept. He shook my hand with a grip that kept checking my pulse. He said only one thing before he left. Turn it off by midnight. Do not let it see you. The boat peeled away and left me with gulls and the slow blink of the lantern room above. I climbed the spiral. My boots clicked on the metal steps. Each landing held a little life. A cot, a stove, a shelf of logs written in stiff black ink. The last entry was short. Service irregularities after 23:30. Auditory phenomena. Recheck fuel valve. Pray. I laughed at that word. Pray. I told myself old keepers like drama. I told myself I liked the quiet. I told myself a lot of things. At 2300 the fog rolled over the sea like a muscle. The horn spoke once. Then again. The light cut its path through the gray. I leaned on the railing and watched the world shrink to a circle. The air in the lantern room had a warm glass smell, like a greenhouse. The lens rotated with lazy certainty. The mantle burned steady. At 23:55 I reached for the extinguishing rod. The flame trembled, not from my hand, from something else. The sound in the room changed. The lens hum became a voice-shaped vibration. Not words, just the shape of someone thinking near you. At midnight, I pressed the rod. The mantle should have dimmed to an orange sigh. It did not. The light flared brighter, and the glass threw a thin ring onto the fog. The ring hung there like a halo around the tower. My skin tightened. The light was not only shining, it was looking back. I stepped back from the lantern, my heartbeat louder than the wind. The glow made the fog outside look alive, rippling as if something was brushing against it from the other side. The voice-shaped hum grew deeper, almost impatient. My ears rang with a pressure that felt like diving too deep in cold water. I tried the rod again. Nothing. The mantle burned brighter still, and for the first time, I noticed the reflection in the glass was wrong. In the curved mirror of the lens, my face was not moving with me. It stood still, eyes locked forward, lips slightly open like it was whispering to someone I could not hear. Then it turned its head, just a little, toward the sea. The fog outside rippled again. Something huge moved inside it, pacing the perimeter of that glowing ring. I could not see details, only the shape, but its movements matched the rhythm of the light's rotation. Step for step, it circled us. I backed down the stairs, one hand on the rail, never looking away from the lens. The wrong reflection was still there, watching the thing in the fog. And for a moment I thought it smiled. Halfway down, I felt it. A low vibration through the metal steps. Whatever was outside was not only watching, it was getting closer. The base of the tower groaned like something was pushing against it. From the darkness below, a knock echoed up the stairwell. 3 slow knocks, then a pause, then one more. It was not from the door. It was from the inside wall. I froze on the stairs, every muscle telling me not to move. The metal around me felt cold and damp, almost breathing. I pressed my ear against the wall, and a faint scraping came through, like nails dragging slowly over steel. The knocks came again, this time from farther up the wall, as if whatever it was had started climbing inside the tower's skin. I backed down another step, my boots squealing against the metal, and the sound stopped. The silence was worse than the noise. I reached the ground floor and grabbed the heavy service key for the door. If I could get outside, maybe I could signal the service boat with the emergency flare. My hand touched the lock and I froze again. The knocks returned, but this time they were right behind me. I turned slowly and stared at the inner wall. There was a bulge in the metal, faint but shifting, like something was pressing from the other side. The surface flexed, then a single dent appeared, shaped exactly like the tip of a finger. It pressed in deeper, followed by another and another, until 5 long impressions dragged downward in unison. The lantern room above flared so bright the light came pouring through the stairwell, wrapping the walls in a blinding white. I could see the shadow of the thing outside through the thin steel, tall, hunched, and staring straight at me through the wall. The knock stopped, replaced by a slow, deliberate scraping toward the base of the door. I tightened my grip on the key, but my hands were slick with sweat. The scraping at the base of the door grew louder, like something was searching for a way in. I could hear it inhale, a deep pull of air that rattled the hinges. Then the handle twitched. Just once. My breath caught. No one should be able to reach that handle from the outside. It was nearly chest height from the landing. Yet it moved again, slower this time, as if whatever was out there wanted me to know it could open the door whenever it wished. I backed away until my shoulders touched the central column of the staircase. The lantern's beam spun overhead, casting a sharp slice of light through the cracks in the floor. In one of those moments of light, I saw it, a thin, blackened fingertip sliding under the door. It curled slightly, testing, and then vanished as the light swept away. Suddenly, the lantern above went silent. Nom, noro dashin. Just stillness. I looked up the stairwell and saw that the beam had stopped mid-sweep, aimed directly at the sea. The fog glowed unnaturally bright in that direction, as if the beam was holding something in place. That was when I heard it from above, my own voice calling my name from the lantern room. The sound froze me in place. It was not just my voice. It carried my exact tone, my rhythm, even the faint rasp I get when I am tired. It called my name again, slower this time, stretching the last syllable until it frayed. I stared up the spiral, my stomach tightening. The glow in the lantern room pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. I told myself to stay on the ground floor, to wait for sunrise, but my feet started moving upward without my permission. Each step rang hollow in the silence. The smell of the air changed as I climbed. It was no longer the warm glass smell from before. It was metallic, sharp, and cold enough to sting my nose. Halfway up, I passed the wall where I had seen the bulge. It was smooth again, but the metal was warm against my palm, as if something had just moved away from that spot. My voice called again, but now it was closer, just beyond the final turn of the stairs. I reached the top landing, heart thudding, and looked into the lantern room. The light was still blazing, but the lens was no longer turning. Instead, it faced the sea completely still. Standing in front of it with its back to me was me. It was my height, my build, even the same coat I was wearing. The only difference was the way it stood, perfectly rigid, as if every muscle was locked in place. I stepped into the lantern room, the heat from the blazing mantle prickling my skin. My double did not move. The glass lens reflected its face, and that was when I saw the smile. It was too wide, stretching higher than it should have, the skin around the mouth trembling as if it was holding something back. Without warning, it tilted its head toward me. The motion was sharp, almost mechanical. Its eyes met mine in the reflection. They were not my eyes. They were glossy, black, and wet, like something from deep in the ocean. The hum returned, louder than before, vibrating the glass in the windows. My double turned fully to face me. Its mouth opened, but no sound came out. Instead, the light behind it flared so violently I had to shield my face. When my vision cleared, the double was gone. The lantern room was empty, but the door behind me was now closed, even though I had left it open. I ran down the spiral, not caring about the noise. I hit the ground floor and stopped dead. The heavy service door was wide open. Beyond it, the fog lay still. The sea was silent. And on the wet landing, pressed into the wood, were 2 sets of footprints. Both were mine. Story 2. The keeper who answered the wrong knock. What if the knock at your door came from a place where doors do not exist? Welcome back. Still with me, I hope. The next tale drifts even deeper into the kind of loneliness only a lighthouse keeper knows. This one is about a man who answered a knock he should have ignored. It happened to Thomas Ray, keeper of Hollow Point Light. The station was 20 miles off the coast, built on a jagged rock no bigger than a cottage. Supply boats came twice a month, weather permitting. That winter, the weather did not permit. 3 weeks into his isolation, the wind was a constant voice around the tower. Ice formed on the inside of the windows. His food was running low, but he told himself he could last until the next boat. The hardest part was the quiet between the gusts, when his own breathing felt too loud. One night, just before dawn, a knock came at the door. It was slow, deliberate, and far too polite for a storm-battered outpost. Thomas froze at the table, his spoon halfway to his mouth. No one could have crossed that sea in this weather. The knock came again, the same measured rhythm. Then a voice, soft and low, spoke his name. Thomas rose without meaning to, chair legs scraping the floor. The voice outside was calm, almost gentle, and it spoke in a cadence he recognized from his own thoughts. It said his name again, as if repeating a password. He moved to the porthole beside the door and wiped away a crust of ice. The night beyond was black water and white spray. No escape. No figure on the landing. Only the rail, glistening. The rules for keepers were clear. Do not open to unknown visitors in a storm. Do not signal unless life is visible. He recited those lines in his head like a prayer. The voice outside waited patiently, as if it knew the rules too. Thomas reached for the brass speaking tube that connected to the lantern room. No response came from above, only a hollow ring. He tried the shortwave set on the shelf. The speaker filled with a low hiss, then a thin whisper threaded through the static. It spoke his name again, timed with the knock at the door, perfectly synchronized, as if the sound were traveling through more than one surface at once. He turned the volume down until the whisper became a breath. The knock stopped. Silence pressed against the walls. Thomas imagined he had imagined it, and the thought made him shiver. He went to the stove and fed it the last of the kindling. As the new flames caught, something tapped on the glass of the window 2 floors up. Not the door. The window. 3 crisp taps, then a pause, then one more, the same rhythm as before. Thomas grabbed the flashlight and climbed. His steps echoed in the spiral like a second person was climbing with him. At the watchroom, he crossed to the window and shone the beam outward. Fog showed itself like smoke in a theater. The glass frosted quickly under his breath. On the 3rd wipe, he saw it. A handprint on the outside of the pane. Long fingers splayed, and a faint impression of a palm, as if something had leaned in to look at him. The print glistened with seawater. The rock ledge outside that window was only 4 fingers wide. Nothing could stand there. Nothing could reach across that gap from the ladder. His radio crackled again, louder this time. Thomas lifted it. The hiss turned into a voice he had not heard in 10 years. His father. The old tone. The calm weight. It said his name once. Then it said, "Tom, open the door." Thomas gripped the radio until his knuckles ached. His father had been dead for a decade. The voice was perfect, down to the subtle rasp that came when he was about to laugh. It spoke again, softer this time, almost like a plea. "Tom, it is cold out here. Let me in." He lowered the radio and stared at the handprint on the glass. Droplets of seawater slid down the pane, but they did not freeze in the bitter air. Instead, they seemed to sink into the glass, vanishing like they were being pulled through from the other side. A new knock sounded from below. It was not slow anymore. It was quick and eager, like someone trying to wake a sleeping house. Thomas felt a sharp pressure in his chest with each knock, as if the sound was happening inside him as much as on the door. He made it halfway down the stairs before something else joined the sound. Breathing. Long, slow inhales followed by rattling exhales directly behind the wood of the door. When he reached the base, the breathing stopped. He waited, gripping the door handle, torn between every rule he had been taught and the strange pull of the voice. The silence stretched until it felt like it had weight. Then gently 3 knocks came again. And this time, they came from the inside of the door. Thomas backed toward the center of the room, keeping his eyes on that warped shadow. The light from above pulsed with each knock, like the tower itself was breathing in time with whatever was at the door. The shadow's head tilted the other way, slow and deliberate, as if it was studying him. Then it raised a hand. The silhouette of its fingers was far too long, curling unnaturally before lowering toward the latch again. Thomas's pulse pounded in his ears. He aimed the flare gun at the door, his finger tightening on the trigger. The voice spoke again, this time from behind him. Not from the door. From the base of the spiral stairs. He spun, the flare's red tip aimed at the darkness. The steps above were empty. The sound came again, closer now. The same layered tone, but quieter, almost whispering. The words were unclear, but the intent was sharp. It wanted him to come closer. Then, in the corner of his vision, movement. He turned back to the door just in time to see the latch slowly sliding open on its own. The steel bar fell away. The door eased forward an inch. A gust of air rushed in, warm and damp, carrying the smell of salt and something sweeter underneath, almost like decay. The shadow was gone. Thomas's breath came fast and shallow. The door inched open another fraction, without a sound from the hinges. The warm, damp air filled the room, clinging to his skin. He raised the flare gun higher, but a part of him knew it would not matter. The rules were gone now. Whatever was out there was already inside. From the gap in the doorway, a hand slid into view. Not the pale, human hand he half expected, but something black and slick, with skin that reflected the lantern light in wet glints. The fingers ended in rounded tips, but each one split down the middle as it curled against the wood. The voice came again, now right in front of him. "Open it. Let me see you." Thomas stepped back until his shoulders met the cold curve of the central column. His pulse thundered in his ears, but beneath it, he could hear another sound. Footsteps on the metal spiral above, coming down toward him. The hand at the door retreated. The gap closed. The latch slid back into place, all on its own. But the footsteps did not stop. They reached the bottom step. And when Thomas looked, he saw his own boots there, facing him. The flare gun slipped from his fingers. Story 3. Static in the lantern room. What if a voice you trusted began speaking from a radio that was never turned on? Welcome back. Still with me through the fog. This last story starts with a simple maintenance shift and ends with a sound you will never want to hear alone. It was an off-season night at Marrow Reef Light. The station had been automated years ago, but a skeleton crew still visited every few months to run checks. Dana Reese, a technician, was sent out for what she thought would be a single night of silence, mechanical hum, and routine. The sea was calm when she arrived, the air sharp with the smell of salt and rust. She carried her tools up the spiral, her boots ringing in the hollow tower. The lantern room stood still at the top, lens covered with a weather tarp. Dana set to work in the watchroom just below it, tightening bolts and replacing corroded wiring. Around midnight, the old ship-to-shore radio on the desk clicked on by itself. Static filled the room, loud and raw, even though the power switch was still in the off position.
Dana leaned closer.
Beneath the static, there was a voice. It said her name. Dana froze with a screwdriver still in her hand. The radio's power knob was firmly off, the indicator dark, yet the speaker hissed like a storm. She reached for the cord to unplug it. Before her fingers touched the plug, the static thinned and formed syllables. The voice was faint, riding the noise like a swimmer in rough water. It said her name again, softer, almost relieved to find her. Dana swallowed and leaned closer. "Who is this?" The static answered with a breath that was not a sound a radio should carry. It had warmth. It had distance. Then the voice said a sentence only one person used with her. "Stay where the light can see you." Her older sister had said that when they were kids, when they were afraid of the dark. Her sister had been gone for 3 years. Dana turned the power knob on. The indicator light blinked to life. The static did not change at all. It was as if the radio had chosen its own circuit. She adjusted the dial through every frequency on the band. The voice stayed centered, always the same thin thread in the noise no matter where she tuned. When she let go of the dial, the radio clicked back to off by itself, the indicator light dying. The voice remained. Dana stepped away from the desk. The spiral tower amplified every sound into a hollow echo. Above her, the covered lens creaked once, like glass settling. The voice whispered her name a third time, and then, in the same kind tone her sister used to use, it said, "Do not go upstairs." Dana stared up at the stairwell. The words echoed in her head, mixing with the steady wash of static still spilling from the powerless radio. Her breath came slower now, every sense on edge. She told herself she was just tired, that the long trip out had worn her thin, but she could not shake the weight behind the voice.
It was not just speaking.
It was watching. Another creak came from above, heavier this time, like a footstep on the lantern room floor. The tarp covering the lens shifted faintly, a ripple moving across it as if something had brushed against the glass from the inside. Dana backed toward the desk, eyes fixed on the stairwell. The radio crackled again, louder for a moment, and the voice returned. Urgent now. Stay where the light can see you. Her gaze flicked to the lamp in the corner, the only light besides her small work torch. Its bulb flickered once, then steadied. From above, something began to drag along the metal, slow, deliberate scraping that moved toward the top of the stairs. The voice in the radio dropped to a whisper. "It is coming down." Dana's throat went dry. The scraping on the stairs was slow but steady, like claws or boots edged with metal. Each sound echoed through the narrow tower, making it impossible to tell how close it really was. She stepped back until her hip hit the desk. Her eyes darted to the door at the base of the watch room, but that would only lead down to the landing, and the service boat was already gone. The voice in the static breathed into the silence. "It is not me. Do not answer it." Dana's pulse hammered in her ears. She forced herself to look at the stairwell just as a shadow stretched into view, not cast by her lamp, but moving in perfect rhythm with the scraping. It slid along the wall, impossibly tall and thin, bending in ways no human frame could. The tarp over the lantern room shifted again, this time bulging outward for just a second before falling still. The scraping stopped. A moment later, something tapped on the watchroom window behind her. Just once. Sharp and clear. She turned slowly toward it, and her breath caught. Pressed to the glass was the pale outline of a face, but the features were blurred, as if they were being dragged sideways by invisible hands. The radio hissed louder, and the voice that had been warning her suddenly changed tone. It was softer now, coaxing.
Dana.
"Let it in." Dana's heart kicked hard against her ribs. The blurred face at the glass tilted slowly, like it was studying her through water. A thin crack appeared in the frost on the pane, spreading outward as if from the pressure of its stare. The voice in the radio spoke again, warmer now, dripping with a familiarity she wanted to trust. "You have been alone too long. Just open the window." She shook her head, backing toward the center of the room, but the face outside shifted in closer, its edges sharpening. Eyes formed first, too wide, too dark, and then a mouth that moved in time with the words from the radio. Dana's work lamp flickered, the shadows in the room stretching and twisting. The scraping sound on the stairs returned, faster now, closing the distance from above. She glanced at the stairwell and saw movement. Not steps, but a long, spindly limb curling around the railing, gripping it with joints that bent the wrong way. The voice in the static deepened, losing all trace of her sister. It was layered now, more than one tone, all urging the same thing. "Let me see you." The lamp went out. In the darkness, the static roared, and something cold and wet brushed Dana's arm. Dana's breath came in sharp bursts. The cold touch slid down her arm and stopped at her wrist, holding it with a grip that was both gentle and unbreakable. The radio's static thinned until there was almost silence. In that silence, a single word rose, clear and close to her ear. "Upstairs." Her eyes adjusted just enough to see the pale curve of the stair railing. The limb she had seen earlier was gone. The scraping had stopped. Everything felt too still, like the tower was holding its breath. The grip on her wrist loosened. She took a step back, but her heel met the bottom step of the spiral. Something shifted high above in the lantern room. A faint glow began to seep through the cracks in the tarp. The voice returned, this time from above her, not the radio. It was her sister's voice again, perfect and kind. "Dana, you have to see the light." Against every instinct, she climbed. The higher she went, the brighter the glow became, but it was not the warm beam of a working lamp. It was cold, silvery, and pulsing slowly, like it was alive. She reached the lantern room door and pushed it open. The tarp had been pulled away, and in the center of the lens stood her sister. Only, the skin on her face was shifting, sliding like waves under glass, and the eyes staring back at Dana were solid black. The voice that came from her mouth was no longer anyone she knew. It simply said, "Now you belong to the light." The glow flared so bright it erased the room. And then the static returned.